It'll be a long way to beat that. Roachy leads with the Robertson.
It's coming home. It's coming home, Ben. Miller, the curse is finally over. The curse is finally over. Remember, guys, we wrote the rules of the game. We wrote the rules back in, what was it, 150 years ago. We wrote the rules. This win is largely due to the support of you guys. Hey guys, we're back again. Russell Robertson live.
Robertson! Out of nowhere! Robertson! Out of nowhere! Robertson! Out of nowhere!
Out of nowhere. G'day guys, welcome to Robbo Live for another week. Another ripping show ahead, Davo. How are you?
Good.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not great. What was it? Croaky?
Davo had a big night last night. Hello, Ruth. Straight onto it, Ruth. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Melbourne supporters out there. Welcome to you wherever you're listening from. If it's the podcast, listen later stuff and Spotify. I've got to keep going. I've got to keep spruiking it, mate.
I know, but the way every time you go to explain the podcast or where it's available, where is it available?
Podcast app. Because I just go to
Which one? The podcast
I go
app?
to the podcast app on my phone, don't you?
Yeah, the Apple Podcast app or the Spotify podcast.
You just do that from now on. Hello, Nikki. Good to hear from you. As always, she's always there. Maddie and Nikki out there where are you? You don't have to tell us that, actually. Don't broadcast where you are, Nikki.
I'm in Melbourne.
In Melbourne somewhere.
In Melbourne somewhere.
It's a bit chilly. It's chilly in Melbourne. It's the footy season. We're right in it, and it is an interesting week of football for the Melbourne Football Club. Port Adelaide travelling away. They are on fire. Port Adelaide too. They're going to be a tough team to beat. We've had a couple of softer games, Davo, rolling after last week's. You know, you'd suggest it was a pretty easy win, wasn't it, Hawthorn?
A couple of softer games.
Well, I mean, am I being...
Gold Coast,
Hawthorn.
You won by 3, 4, 5?
Yeah, and I feel like we should have got that done a lot easier, and travelling away again, they should have won that by a lot more. Hawthorn was a little bit easy, sort of the gas was, we'll go now, we won't, we will. There was a little bit of that going on, but this week there is none of that going on. We need to have full ball to the floor at all times because, and we'll talk about it a little bit later on, this game, Port Adelaide chock full of champs at the moment, really good players. Champs is a word I shouldn't use. Good players and some good young players too. It's going to be a midfield battle this Friday night, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, this time, half an hour from now, and yeah.
I can't wait for this weekend's football. Actually, there's some cracking games happening right across the weekend. It is the NAM round. It is the Sir Doug Nicholls round. Melbourne is NAM for a week. Well, we're always NAM, our Indigenous name. I love how on the AFL app, David, did you see this? Every club has been given their Indigenous area names. So let's have a look here. Yada Pulti is Port Adelaide. Obviously for Melbourne. Go through and have a look on the AFL app and see what each team is. I think it's absolutely brilliant. What a show, Davo. Gavin Wanganeen.
Legend.
Superstar.
Yep.
Do you remember like the early 90s? And you would, because the West Coast Eagles, your boys, were rolling in and around that time. And there was some super teams in the early 90s. Melbourne was one of those. Don't you worry, in the early 90s. We were there and abouts. Couldn't quite get the wins right at the pointy end, but you had Hawthorn, Carlton, Essendon, the West Coast Eagles, and some really good players. What do you remember of the early 90s?
Pearl Jam.
Of course you do.
No, we were good. Did we? Early 90s, the West Coast. 90. When was the West Coast Melbourne elimination final? Was that 91?
These people will tell you. It was probably...
I reckon we...
And West Coast won?
We lost that.
You lost.
Murray Ranstead could have handballed it over the top, had a shot on goal, missed it. Melbourne won because we won in 92 and 94, so I reckon it was 91.
Hello, David.
Maybe it was earlier than that. Maybe it was 88.
Hello,
It was our
friendy.
second year in the competition. It was actually. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about today.
No,
Gavin Wanganeen, though, what a legend.
Oh, yeah, superstar. But there was a couple of years there, and look, I wasn't a part of the early 90s. I came over in 1997 when I was drafted, 96, 97, and I remember hearing stories about how unlucky Melbourne was under Swoop and Northey in that era, in that we were really rolling, really playing great football. We won, I think we went and watched a drawn game. Was it the West Coast played a drawn game out at Waverley?
We drew to Collingwood.
You drew with Collingwood. Was it over there?
It was over here.
Over here at Waverley, I think.
Yeah, it was.
And all the Melbourne boys were actually, I've been told this, they were at the game to watch the opposition that we got coming up. And I think Melbourne went over to West to play you guys after that, and we got beat over there. But we had 3 weeks basically of no football because of the drawn, and they had to come back a week later and play.
Yeah.
Swooper said to all the boys, well, what do we do, boys? We're going to have to wait another week. Let's go to the pub. So he took them to the pub and had a few drinks and, went back to training and had another week of training. And it just threw Melbourne out, apparently, and they didn't play the football that they were supposed to play. Hello, Barry, Susie, all the usuals, Davo. They're jumping.
They're all there.
They're
And
all
then
there.
if we reminisce for anyone who's just joined and hasn't seen this, and we should maybe try and dig up this episode, but Nikki and Matt, is it Matt? Matt Matthew? They got engaged on our show way back when. And I'm going to have to pull that footage up at some point and replay it because that was the pinnacle. That was the peak of where we of our superpowers of our show.
100%.
That was the peak. It's just gone downhill since
Ever
then.
since then,
And
terrible.
like to the point where you even turned up tonight 15 minutes late
Again,
for
but
your
that's
own show.
That's how I like to do it.
Well, I don't know if they like it.
No, but it keeps you on your toes.
Oh, no, I'm
Hello.
happy. I can wait.
Everyone's jumping on and saying hello. Say hello, guys. Let me know what you're looking forward to this weekend with this game, or tomorrow night, obviously, Friday night. What are you looking forward to, Michael, Louise, Jackie? Hi, let us know. This game, I've got my eye on a few things. I think this game's going to be won and lost in the middle of the ground. I think that a few changes for Melbourne this week. Christian Salem is back.
Oh, yeah, Solo, very good.
How good to have Salo back. Tommy McDonald is back. I love Tommy McDonald in our forward line.
And I know you, forward line.
You think the same about Tommy McDonald. Love him in our forward line because he's steady hands, steady kick for goal. So, Louise is looking forward to beating her nephew. Obviously a Port Adelaide person. Is that right?
And you got Scott Lysett is in for Port Adelaide, a former West Coast player, a very good ruckman, and Darcy Byrne-Jones.
Yes. It should be a good test for us this week, Mally says. Hello, Mally. Your pickles are amazing. Thank you very much. I've already gotten through those.
What?
Mally has made... So I went to Mally's... What was it, Mally? Was it your 70th birthday? I went to her 70th as a surprise, and I was truly blown away by how shocked she was to have me at her party. She was so emotional and happy. It was wonderful.
Wow.
And I must have told her somewhere along the line that my mum made the most amazing relish, and I love all that pickles and relish stuff. So my mum, so Mally, I suppose you could call her a Melbourne mum, but I've got a couple of Melbourne mums that jump on this show. She has made me pickles every year, whenever she makes a batch.
That's
she always
amazing.
yells out to me from the MCG, front row of the MCG when I'm doing my on-ground announcing, Robbo, here's your pickles.
Really? That's awesome. We need the pickles on the show.
I'm one that loves pickles
Yeah.
on scones.
Oh, that's weird.
Butter, scones. Is that weird? That's old school, I reckon. Green pickles.
Green pickles.
Yeah. Butter,
Like on cheese, when you put them on cheese
bit of
with crackers.
bit of cheese and green pickles. Oh,
Scones have jam and cream normally.
yeah,
So
but that's
how
the
we
sweet one.
roll. Okay.
Hello, Melinda. Yes, Mally, it was your 70th. It was a wonderful, wonderful day. I stayed for a few bevies. It was great.
Spot on with this game, people saying that this is a very good test for Melbourne. This is a proper away game, hard competition. The odds are Melbourne a favourite going into the game, but Port Adelaide have won the last 5 games.
Yeah.
But Melbourne have beaten Port Adelaide in the last 3 times that they've met.
I hope Charlie Dixon, for his sake, plays, but for our sake, I hope he doesn't play because he's such a massive guy in that forward line.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that Melbourne has the back line stocks to beat Port Adelaide this week and to get that job done and get our game going, get our fast game going. Charlie obviously upsets that a little bit because he's such a huge presence up there, but it says a little bit about them bringing back Lysette. Lysette is their ruckman coming up against two of the greatest ruckmen of recent history in Max Gawn and Brodie Gundy, and I like the way they're going about their stuff at the moment too. So it's going to be a good game. Louise, I'm shocked that Salo was in for tomorrow night's game. He hasn't played a game of footy for ages. I'm not against him playing and excited to see him back, but I'm a bit worried he isn't match fit, and of course they'll will probably manage him through that.
It's not a bad point. If he's not played any football at all, how long has he been out for? It feels like a long time.
Long time.
Why didn't you go back and play in the VFL first?
Interesting to see that the match odds, they've still got Melbourne ahead, and I think everybody loves where Melbourne's at the moment, and I do too. There's some really good teams though at the top end of this competition, and Port Adelaide is one of those, and I feel like we need this scalp now to let our supporters, feel a little bit more comfortable about what we're going to do when it comes to September, because we're going to be playing against these teams. So, of course, you can't play West Coast Eagles every week. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Paul, with the Eagles game this weekend, and I know you guys don't give a shit, but this is the first time. So Hawthorn's 17th. Yeah, that's right. And the Eagles are 18th, and the odds are like $1.30 for Hawthorn, and the Eagles $3.70. I don't know when has the second bottom team played the bottom team and the odds been so heavily favoured to the 17th. It's not good. It is not good.
Not a good place at the moment. Ever since you decided to let COVID run rampant, you guys have not recovered. And I've got to say, a lot of us over here on the eastern seaboard are saying to you Westerners, Sucked in, mate. Yeah, they're laughing at us while we were stuck indoors, but look at you now. Your team's shit house.
Your team sucked in. And then what else have you got? If you've got no footy, you got nothing.
Nothing.
They paid for Coldplay. I read this article. $10 million. The state government paid for Coldplay to go to Perth and play at the stadium.
Oh, my God.
That is unbelievable. They're like, we can't have a grand final again. We'll just get Coldplay for $10 million.
I reckon if Coldplay were here now and they were watching West Coast Eagles and the government said,
we'll give you $10 million.
We'll give you $10 million if you come over here, and they'd be like, nah.
And I think this was the whole thing where the state government was doing all the covers a bitch. That's such a good comment, Melinda. Because they had all this stuff like, they're not touring anywhere else in the world, just in Perth. And I was like,
just pay them.
What are you doing over there? Seriously, we don't care. We do not care.
You paid them off, you idiot.
Idiot. You paid $10 million, you idiots.
We're not playing a gig over there. We'll give you $10 million. Okay. That's a lot of money.
They're like, Perth? Where's Perth?
That's a lot of money.
Can we fly? Do they have an airport?
Now, what benefit to your state is it to have Coldplay pay $10 million? Wouldn't that be best spent somewhere else?
You'd think so, but we need entertainment. So they reckon 30% of people will fly over for the concert, so they'll get some tourists. Because, again, you're not going there to watch the football, are you?
No, and look, the reason why we talk like this, as Steve sort of alludes to there, we were a little bit jealous of the Western Australians on their sunny beaches while we were stuck indoors on this winter, on these Melbourne winters, while they were out running around free. So it's a little bit, we're just tongue-in-cheek right now.
Yeah, let's move on. Who cares?
Yeah,
I don't give a shit.
Should we get to our guest?
Yeah, you want to get Wanganeen on? A Brownlow medalist, a bloody...
I can see
one of the all-time greats.
So what we've got here, ladies and gentlemen, and we look up to the screen here and we can see people in the waiting room, and I can see Gav over there. So you're going to jump off and sort things out. But I want to show you, I want to remind everybody, and I don't think I need to remind these people.
Mark McGowan would get a game at West Coast.
That's a good one, Paul.
Yep.
Keep rolling with the questions too, because I want to get your... questions to Gav. If I don't get to you, it's sorry, because I get so stuck into what's going on with with what they're saying. And Gavin Wanganeen is an absolute gentleman, true superstar, one of those really nice guys. I know you've got his highlights package ready to roll, Dave. Let's have a look and let's remind ourselves how great this guy was. Incredible Indigenous player, Essendon into Port Adelaide, 2-time premiership player. He's an Australian Hall of Fame for both
Brownlow
of those
medalist.
clubs. Brownlow medalist. Wow. Check this out, Dave. Press play.
I declare Gavin Wanganeen the 1993 Brownlow medalist.
Cracksman's away. Loose options everywhere. Kick inside. Just didn't quite measure it, did he? Oh, Wanganeen caught the code napping there. Did beautifully. Can he finish this off with a miraculous goal? A la Matthew Larkin. Wanganeen has kicked a goal.
Port Adelaide, they in control in the final minute of the game. Wanganeen under a minute of play left in the first half. Goes long, bounces slow.
Swings it round to the right forward pocket. No mark. Here's Wanganeen, the excitement machine. Listen to the crowd roar. If he kicks this, they'll rip this place down.
Comes back to him, loads it up, bangs it to full forward, couple of flyers, Wanganeen's a chance, off the ground, magic stuff. He didn't, did he? Brilliant, of course he did, it's Wanganeen. He's kicked 5.
In for Gary Hockey, 2 bounces. Forced to kick with that left foot. Not bad, looks for him. Oh, Wanganeen! What a spicky!
Conlon Grimbold. Delaney. Lamb. Willis for the winning goal. Wanganeen! What a mark in defence. Kicks long. Gale's the target. Wanganeen from behind. Well, he has been a great defender.
Also held on to, he had the footy too. Kingsley gets it back. Wanganeen! Free kick. No. Comes back. Wanganeen goes for goal and puts it through the little champ. He's a bloke that you'd pay good money to come and see, Wanganeen, isn't he? He's having a great year.
Brewer, Josh Frankel towards Paul. Oh, they're streaming down the ground. Gavin Wanganeen finish it off with a goal. Under pressure he kicks. It's high. It's close. Is it there? Yes!
Also Primus, now it's off hands. Over the back chance for Franco. He's got some dash if he can pick it up. Gets it to Wanganeen. Wanganeen goes to ground. Stewart Jew with strength. Now a chance. Wanganeen again. Does he kick it? He has! Oh, it was hard work, but he got there in the end.
To Collins with great dash. Kids it in front. Brilliantly played. Pulls it back. Hugging the boundary line. It's still a live ball. Out of mid-air. Wanganeen! The goal of the year. Look at that.
This is very fitting, Robbo, the Brownlow medalist. He won the Michael Tuck medal for being the champion player in the night series at the start of the year. And now he wants to cap it off with a goal. And he has.
Number 4, the reigning Brownlow medalist, Gavin Wanganeen.
Maybe he's going to favour. No, it goes the drop punt. That is a mighty kick. That is a kick from the top shelf. Noble and Brogan. And Noble wins again, but to Wanganeen, who kicked a goal earlier in the quarter. Surely there'll be a score. There is. There's a major score. Jude knocking it on, collecting. Marnie having a very good quarter. Will it carry over the top for Wanganeen to put the 3 goals in front? Wanganeen from behind here has to spoil. Johnson took his time. Wanganeen will kick another. And the Power are on their way. Oh, Montgomery, on all occasions, he's headed for a second flag.
Number 4, Gavin Wanganeen.
How are you, brother? What's going on, pal? Where are you?
Oh, just up in Sydney. Excuse the background here. Bit of some cupboards in the hotel I'm staying in at the moment.
Lovely decor you have there. What are you doing in Sydney, mate?
Well, I'm actually doing Dancing with the Stars at the moment, filming that. So that's been a very interesting process for me.
I cannot believe you're doing this.
I said I couldn't dance at the beginning, so there's the expectation is not too high, which is good. So,
Okay.
unlike yourself, being a muso, musos can dance, can't they? So
I don't mind dancing. Actually, I'm waiting for a call. It would have been fantastic, but mate, the question has to be asked: are we going to do the Brodie Holland, Anthony Koutafoudi's shirt off dance at any stage?
No. No. Look, I mean, no way, mate. I'm not enough mix of that, but.
Mate, look, I'm going to vote for you every single week. You've got to give me, I suppose, it's all the ballroom stuff. Has it been intense, the training? Is the first question.
Yeah.
I'm sure it does. Yeah.
Very, mate. It's a few old sort of back injuries and ankle problems sort of starting to creep in a bit. But, hey, it's just got to keep pushing through. It's more physical than what you think. And,
right.
Yeah, so it's, but yeah, look, I've just put myself out there in terms of stepping outside my comfort zone. It's challenging, but it's got to have a crack, brother, as you know.
I love that attitude. That's what I've said from. Obviously, when I do the music, a lot of people there's naysayers everywhere, and they'll try to put you down and tell you not to do it. But it's not what it's about. It's about just giving everything a go. That's what life's all about. They only wish that they could do it, mate. I cannot wait to watch this now. This is going to be absolutely awesome. You got to give me some sort of Indigenous moves in there as well. Surely you got to build that into it.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think, they're quite traditionalist in terms the ballroom dancing. So it's been a very interesting process. It was a bit hard early days. I'm just starting to find a little bit of confidence in some areas now, but a little way to go yet. But I'll keep working.
I reckon you'll be fine, because we caught up not long ago and we talked about our careers over at the Gather Round in Adelaide, which was great. It was an amazing event over there, and we'll get to that in a second. But we're talking about your career and the days back in Essendon, and that's what I remember the most. We played against each other when you were at Port, but the Essendon days, that was before my career, and I was a Carlton supporter, and you had some titanic battles against Carlton back in the day, obviously a premiership. But those marks, and you were always really balanced, always a steady, balanced player. That arched back of yours, going hell for leather, always landed on your feet. You're like a cat, mate. So I'm sure you're going to be dancing with the correct posture.
Well, the posture, thanks for those kind words. And, I love my Bombers years over in Melbourne. But, mate, I don't think the footy, the cat-like stuff is going to help me on the dance floor. It's a completely different kettle of fish. I'm not wearing footy boots anymore. I don't feel comfortable because I've got dancing shoes on. So,
I love it, mate. You did, like you say, you put yourself out there. You try something new. What's the worst that can happen? Hey,
look, I just want to, there's going to be viewers at home thinking, I just want to be a realist and keep it real, and I want to connect with the viewers at home in terms of, I'd be like him. Yeah, he's okay.
Yes, exactly.
Not the best, but he's having a crack and he's okay. Yeah, I'd be like him.
Yeah. That's what I say to everybody. If you're up on stage and you make a mistake, the crowd loves it, because then they're like, oh, well, he's just like us. It endears you to the people. So if you fall over, mate, just remember that.
If everyone was the most perfect dancer, the show would be boring, because
exactly.
You got
exactly. Now, mate, I know we're on to talk about, obviously, the big game, the Melbourne taking on Port tomorrow night. It's going to be awesome. But when we caught up, we were talking a lot about what you're doing now, and we went back and recounted those Essendon days, and I know they're very special to you. Obviously, premiership player at Essendon. Kevin Sheedy was like a father figure to you. Some of those, it was a really great age and a great era of football, those early 90s, some amazing teams, and you were a big part of it, obviously being a Brownlow medalist. Tell me about your Essendon days, and of course now your son Tex is at your beloved Red and Black, so you love the club, yeah?
Yeah, obviously have a great history there, being premiership player, and spending 7 years there and being a Brownlow medalist at the big Victorian club that it is. Special days for me from 17 to 24, growing up years, and just experiencing the Essendon faithful and the connections with the supporters is something I'm extremely proud of. And to see Tex, starting to make his way as well, following the footsteps. So it was a beautiful chapter in my life, something I'm extremely proud of.
Yeah, I absolutely should be, mate. I mean, obviously, I was a Carlton supporter growing up, so that's why I mentioned the great Titanic battles against some great teams. I mean, you had some great Geelong teams and Hawthorn teams.
Yeah.
It was a great era of football, and you were in the back line, and you became a bit more of a utility as you went to Port Adelaide. But at Essendon, you were this halfback, going back with the flight of the ball, taking hangers. But you were taking hangers against some of those prolific goal scorers of the late 80s, early 90s. What was that like, going back into plugger space and Piggy Dunstall and those guys?
Yeah, look, it was, just a young fella who didn't really have a lot of fear, and I didn't really care, to be honest with you. I actually sort of saw it as a feather in my cap. If I'm just going to be flying from the side and having a crack at my marks,
yeah,
that's what got me going, and I got off on that. So
yeah,
it really did show me flying from my marks, bouncing off some of those guys, getting a few knees in the back here and there, but I kept doing it, and I just wanted to, just attack, take the game on from the defensive 50 and not just be someone who's nullifying an opponent. I want them to worry about me. So I was just gone. Every time I got that footy, I'm off. They got to chase me. So that was really something that I'm proud of. And I feel in a way that was, whether I sort of created a bit of a wave of, attacking defenders through my time there, which probably was the case. Something I'm extremely proud of.
Well, I reckon I agree with that, because defenders were always big, strong guys, spoiling the ball. But then there this new era of attacking halfbacks and really defensive minded sort of halfbacks, but also attacking as well. And you were right up there with one of those new archetypical sort of players that wasn't massive, but your courage was always phenomenal to watch, and that's what I love watching about you. And we were talking about this, and we'll move on to Port Adelaide in a minute, but your boy Tex plays high as well. He's up in the air and he likes to take a mark, but he's probably playing a bit more forward over at Essendon at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. He's learning his craft as a small forward. He's 6 foot, so he's not a tiny fella, but not a big fella, and just a good size.
Yep.
And he's finding his ways. Playing as that half forward, you're not always the focal point,
no.
And you got to live off crumbs, and often. You don't get a lot of good footy unless your midfield getting a fair share of the ball. So, but it's a good learning curve for him. Who knows? I think he's got he'll be able to play midfield as well. He grew up playing midfield, so he'll have a few strings to his bow as he gets a bit older and as he develops.
Well, at least he had that. But I tell you what, it is starvation corner half the time. If you're not, like you said, the one being kicked to. David Neitz said to me the other day, Robbo, you'd have been a great player if I wasn't born. I said, very true, because whenever he didn't play, I reckon I averaged 5 goals. I'm just kicking at him every time.
Yeah, wouldn't you love it, just being the centre point of, 80% of the ball coming in? Gee, you get a fair amount of chances, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, and that's why I tended to hurt him a bit when I jumped on his shoulders and with my knees smack him in and around he used to love that, mate. Well, there's less about that. Let's talk about that wonderful year you had when you won the Brownlow and obviously a premiership as well. Did you win the Norm Smith as well? I don't know. You won the Michael Tuck. I know that. What an era for you that was. Yeah,
it was an amazing year. The Baby Bombers that year of 93 were a bunch of young kids. Well, half the team and the other half were experienced campaigners. So it was a good blend. But 6 or 7 teenagers. I mean, you'd probably never see that again, would you?
No.
Ever. So it was a very unique year for the footy club, and most people have heard of the Baby Bombers, and it's something I'm extremely proud of, and so are the other, the rest of the premiership teammates there. They know how special that year was, because we probably never really had a chance at the beginning of the year. No one gave us a chance, but as the year grew on, we played an attacking brand of football, and we had the good older heads keep us in check and give us that experience. So it was an amazing year.
I know Michael Long talks fondly about Kevin Sheedy and what he meant to his life and giving him the opportunity. What sort of coach was Sheeds to you? What does he mean to you?
Yeah, look, he was like a father figure, Sheeds. He loved these players. He'd go into bat for them. He'd protect his players, and he just had so much real passion. It was the passion and the care that he had, which really stood out. And he was ahead of his time because he liked the attacking brand of footy, and he came from an era where he was old school back pocket, tough, hard as nails, shivers at Sheedy. You know, it came from that ilk where it was so physical, and they'd hurt you back in those days. They'd kill you. So he didn't mind the attacking brand of footy, and he was happy to mix things up. So he threw me into the midfield on many occasions from half back when we needed a bit of an injection at half time. So he was just ahead of his time, but just an amazing coach. He had that ability to get you up, to get you fired up with the tones in his voice, and he had that genuine nurturing nature.
Now, you played against, and I know this is very much a Melbourne show, but they've been really enjoying, I guess, that we get on and get that different perspective from clubs. What was your perspective of Melbourne in those early 90s? Even 94 obviously was a great sort of a year for the Demons. I think 1990 they're pretty good as well, but you probably remember a little bit more about 94. Who did you play on in and around that time before I got to the club in 97? Who was the man you had to mark, and what do you remember about the D's of those days?
Yeah, I remember the D's were very physical back in my era when I was playing with Essendon. I think I played on, was it Hilton?
Joffa, yeah.
Joffa. He was a very physical player, and I was a bit younger than him, so he'd get it a little bit, because maybe because I was running off a bit too much, he didn't like. So I just remember the physicality of playing the Demons at the MCG. So I think we had one real tight game in 92. We're going back a couple of years where I think Melbourne were up by 46 points at three-quarter time or something. Wow. Something ridiculous. Wow. And we end up getting up.
Wow. I don't remember that one.
So for the Melbourne, Demon supporters out there,
they'd remember
that game, but they probably remember that, some of them, the old school supporters. That was just a once in a lifetime sort of game where we'd never expected to win that at three-quarter time, 40-odd points up.
Yeah.
Wow. At three-quarter time. So they're some of the memories that stick in my mind.
And then you obviously head back over the border back home. You grew up in Mount Gambier, am I right? Saying
I was born there, but grew up there. Didn't hang around there for too long. Then grew up in the Eyre Peninsula at Port Lincoln, and then moved to Adelaide.
Beautiful spot. And you go back to Port Adelaide to play. How hard was that decision to leave Essendon firstly, and then tell me about your Port Adelaide days, mate?
Yeah, it was obviously a hard decision to leave a great club like Essendon, where I'd grown up in a way, from 17 to 24, but I'd achieved a lot of success, so much success that if I hadn't achieved that success, I probably never would have left if I hadn't reached the premiership, the glory days. But it was just a pull to go home, and looking back on it, it was just one of those things. And to play, from Port Adelaide in their first year, to experience that, and then to see, the Port Adelaide Power, the club, the evolution of, from the Port Magpies into, Port Adelaide Power.
Yeah.
To be a part of that journey and win that premiership in 2004, our only premiership, after a couple of really solid, successful years, where we didn't get any reward in September. It was awesome to get the 2004 premiership, because we could have easily have got zero. An enjoyable era in terms of, winning that first premiership in 2004. And after 3 or 4, years prior, where we'd been in the box seat to win a premiership, but the great Brisbane Lions won 3 in a row. So, and we'd had great tussles with them. So to get 2004 was so special, because we could easily have ended up, twisted old men with no premierships whatsoever.
Yeah. Oh, mate. Yeah. Completely jealous. Didn't get one. 2000 we were there and abouts, but I was a young kid then, so it would have been we were a bit like the Baby Bombers in 2000. We had that good balance like you talk about. Stephen Phoebe and those guys were around still, but we had a lot of young kids coming through. Cameron Bruce, Brad Green, Paul Wheatley, those sorts of guys, but we weren't able to beat that amazing Essendon of 2000. But then the Brisbane Lions come along, and they're this all-conquering team for 3 years, and then you were able to smash them, and they were still a really good side in that. I mean, that was an amazing grand final there. Choppy Pickett run around doing whatever he wanted, and yourself, mate. It would have been a phenomenal feeling. And what you play football for, yeah?
Absolutely. You play footy to win the premierships and to experience that glory with teammates at the MCG in front of a full house, most of Australia watching, goosebumps on the back of your neck when you walk out through the race onto the ground. You hear the roar. That's what it's all about. They're memories you'll never ever forget. Yeah. So I'm blessed to have been able to experience that twice, one with Essendon and one with Port Adelaide.
That's right. All right, so let's talk about the game quickly, and then we're going to talk a bit about what you're into now. Obviously, this Melbourne team, you watch, they're pretty good, aren't they? And they're in abouts, and they're coming up against a red-hot Port Adelaide at the moment. Word that Charlie Dixon might be playing after a week off with that quad. A really good side that last year didn't quite get what they wanted out of it, and this year they've really toiled away in the background, and I feel like they're one of the form teams of the competition.
It certainly is. I mean, Port are in great form. I think they've won their last 5, maybe 6, and the D's just a solid outfit and got some absolute, champions of the game in Petrarca and Oliver and the likes, and their defensive, unit with, May and Lever is, pretty good outfit. And then the power guys are ticking okay. You got the young, is it Rosie and then and Butters who are very, very smart midfielders and electrifying players. So it's going to be absolute ripper of a game.
Yeah, 100%. And I like what you say about Port Adelaide. Probably will find it hard against that amazing backline that we've got, because Maisie's, if not, I think he's the best. Or let's say he's the best fullback in the competition. He's the best backman.
Yep.
I'm going to put my hand up and say I reckon he is. I'd hate to play on him. And then you got Lever who's coming in from the side. So it really feels like to me, whoever wins it out of the middle of the ground, really, like those couple of names that you mentioned, and then Horn Francis, and it's like, wow. Boakey, obviously the level head, it's going to be an absolute clash of the Titans in the middle of the ground, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, the game will be won or lost in the midfield, but the ball movement patterns, if you want to beat Melbourne, has to be fast ball movement. So if it's slow, I mean, those two big fellas in May and Lever will just get their hands on it, get a fist on it, or mark the football. So, it's not going to be rocket science. They have to move the ball extremely fast and be consistent at it. But if it's slow ball movement, Port won't have any chance whatsoever.
Oh, look, it's over there too. So it's going to be, I think it's even, isn't it? I mean, the bookies might have Melbourne slightly ahead, and that's a position on the ladder maybe, and form second plays fourth. So I cannot wait to watch this game of football, and I'm sure you'll be taking a break from your Dancing with the Stars to tune in and watch a little bit, practicing in front of the mirror.
Absolutely. Bit of everything going on there.
Now, last thing I want to talk about before I let you go, mate. You've stepped into a couple of different things post-football, and I've seen that, but we were talking about one that really piques my interest because I love coffee, and I know you love coffee too. But Juju is a new company that you've I don't know, you'll tell us whether you've started or where it came from.
Yep.
And my missus and I, we've got a new hair salon down in Parkdale, and we're installing your coffee machines with the Juju coffee for all our clients when they come in. Tell us a bit about it.
Oh, thanks, Robbo. Thanks for supporting me. That'll be awesome. So Juju Coffee, it started because I wanted to create a really good coffee pod. So when you use your Nespresso machine and the coffee comes out with the water, that it's got the beautiful smells of coffee, and it tastes like the coffee that you get at the shop. So that was my endeavour to do that. I think I've done that.
Yep.
And we also do brilliant beans. So it's called Juju Coffee, and we're online and we're Nespresso compatible. I love my coffee. I'm very, very big on drinking coffee, and I'm a bit of a coffee snob. So I'm putting that into my coffee as well. So if you want to have a try, guys, just get online and check out Juju Coffee.
Well, we're going to chuck the link up here so people can jump on that and do that. So it's probably on the screen right now. Dave, I'll sort that out. I reckon you probably got that coffee snob from your Melbourne days, because I came from Tassie and we didn't drink coffee there. We come over to Melbourne and it's all about the latte circuit, isn't it?
That's it. Coffee capital of the world, hey, in Melbourne. So I probably got it from there.
Well, there you go. All Melbourne supporters and all the Melbourne corporates that are watching this, make sure you get that Juju coffee into your businesses or whatever, your houses or whatever it is, mate. That's been an awesome chat. I've really loved that. Talking about it was a real housing day of football for me, and everyone's got their I guess their memories and their youth in football. For me, it was those early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and the Baby Bombers were a massive part of that because my Blues used to play against them, and Melbourne were there and abouts as well, and we had to take on Essendon all the time. What a great club. And then you go on to have this amazing career. Port Adelaide, mate, we've had so many amazing guests. I don't think there's been any better than this, Fee. Davo, I don't think there's been any better than this.
That's
awesome.
what he says to all these, everyone that comes on. But thank you, Robbo.
And
right,
also,
I mean, like the early 90s, I mean, that era of football was absolutely amazing. I mean, how many hangers were taken? I mean, you're the king of hangers. Every week there was more opportunities because the ball was coming in fast and long. So it was such exciting times in the early 90s.
Absolutely. I think everybody loved that era of football because there was some high marking still. There's little bits and pieces every now and then, but not like it used to be. And you were there as well. Mate, good luck with Dancing with the Stars and all the Melbourne supporters. Make sure you vote for this man because he's an absolute superstar, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Gav, go well, brother.
Thanks, Robbo. Cheers.
See you, man. I love him.
He's a really good guy, isn't he?
I love him. He's just a ripper. And I think everybody loves him too. Sorry, guys, I lost all your questions. It jumped off the screen to me, and I can see that there's a few there now. I played against Gav, but he was up the other end of the ground for me in that. I don't know. He sort of went forward as his career sort of twilighted.
And you didn't go back.
I never went back. Melinda, that's a great comment. Read that out, Dave. Put that up on the screen for everybody to see.
Let's highlight this.
Players in your day were stronger and played real footy. It's interesting, isn't it? Because, I mean, you can only play the way that you're allowed to play, within the parameters of the rules. And the game has changed. And I think the game has changed medically for the better. I mean, for the future of a lot of footballers. And I know a lot of guys in my era talk about their aches and pains now, and it's a real issue, and there's a lot to do with this, and that's why we've sort of knee-jerked and changed the game. And it's important, I understand it, but sometimes I do wonder, and we talked about this last week, didn't we, with the Van Ruin situation. If you're not playing a natural sort of, with natural aggression, and you're pulling back, well, that's when injuries tend to happen. There's nothing that you can do in sport to mitigate against injury. It's going to happen. Yes, head injuries, and I know the NFL have done a lot in this space to fix that issue up. But you can't stop all of it. And so changing the rules about how many weeks you get for head-high hits and, the effect of people getting hurt. I think it was Brownie in the dark a couple of weeks ago when we interviewed Campbell Brown that said, if someone punches someone in the head and deliberately tries to hurt, I think we all know when that happens. When they're not trying to hurt and it accidentally happens, come on now.
Yeah.
Just let it go. And that's what we lived with. We knew that we went hard. I remember out in the MCG, beautiful, sunny, hot day, early season. We're playing against Essendon. Again, Essendon comes up. And it was one of the Johnson, I think it was Mark Johnson. He's 20 metres beyond the ball, maybe 50 metres, I'm 50 metres back. And the ball's kicked to the wing, and it's right in the middle of both of us, and we're going flat knacker at the ball. And I could see his eyes looking at my eyes, not the ball, because we knew where the ball was, and we both knew what was coming. This is what we've trained for, and this is what coaches have told us. It's your turn to go. You got to go. You got to show your strength, how much you want the ball. I want it more than you. I'm stronger than you. That's stuff that men think. And we both connected after this 50-metre run-up like two freight trains because he was a nugget. And I knew it was going to hurt, but I couldn't pull out. I knew I couldn't. I knew my dad was watching. I knew all the Melbourne fans were watching. I wasn't scared. I was looking forward to it. I hated how I felt after it. But it's stuff that I remember,
Yeah, wow.
And it was fair. He didn't throw an elbow up. He didn't hit me. We just met. We both went down. We were both sore after it, but we appreciated it. And that's what Van Ruwen was doing. He was just going for the ball. Didn't get him in the face. Cricked his neck a bit. Move on. The other question's a great question, guys. We weren't able to get that to it. But let's talk. Dave and I were talking earlier today about doing some segments. Because we don't have segments, do we?
No, because we're unprepared. But we could do a segment. We will try one. We'll try one on you guys. What do you think?
I wanted to do one now, right? Let's just see if this works. And we'll work a prize in. And maybe it's Juju Coffee. From Gavin Wanganeen's Juju Coffee. We'll talk a little bit more about that interview in a minute. But can you name, who's the quickest to name these two players? I just found a photo. Go. Who gets it first? There's only 11 people watching. Who's going to get this first?
Come on now.
What about...
We do. It would really not be hard to have music.
Gary's asking a question. Was Michael Long looking at Troy Simmons? Gary's right with Bennett.
Go on.
Who's the other guy? You got to get the other guy. Michael Pistana de Silva. I don't know.
Yeah, it's good though. Bennett's one. Steve's in. Yep.
Darren Bennett. We know what he did with football and where he went. Jackson. Yes.
Steve.
Ricky Jackson and Darren Bennett. Yes. Nikki guesses the full names. I think it's got to be full names.
Yeah, I think so. I think Nicky's the winner. Winner. Juju dinner.
Look at Ricky. What's he wearing? He's wearing ill-fitting leggings. And Darren Bennett's wearing...
Can you have a look at Darren Bennett's quads?
Oh, I want that coffee, Melinda Wood. You know what? I'm gonna get Gav to send us over a whole box of this Juju coffee, the pods, and we're gonna do giveaways every week. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
Can you flick up the website for Juju coffee?
I can try that.
Can you try doing that for me? Was Bennett wearing PJs? They were awful. What's the prize, Robbo? It is
the Juju coffee.
So this is it, guys, and I want to talk about the Juju coffee, not for long, but it's ethically sourced coffee, which I think we all understand what that means, and it is sustainable. Is that right?
It's because you know most of the Nespresso capsules, they can't be recycled, and so it looks like this is. They says on the here that they are compostable coffee capsules. So not only is it good for quality, it looks like it's good for the planet.
Good.
And it's compatible with Nespresso coffee machines.
That's the website. If you've got a pod coffee machine, apparently these Juju coffee capsules are universal, adaptable to, well, I don't know about adaptable, but they're universal. Yeah. They're a bit of a utility like Gavin Wanganeen was. They can go anywhere.
There you go. Good one.
Yeah, you like that?
That's good.
Bennett was a massive kick. 70 metres. Did he play over?
He played NFL.
He played, but then he played for the West Coast Eagles as well.
Yeah,
I think he did.
Did he?
Am I right in saying that? Did he play? Because he was before my time. I was a young man in Tassie. And then he went to the NFL and played for the San Diego Chargers. Can I tell you a story? We went to the San Diego Chargers. 4 of my mates
He played for the Eagles.
When I was playing for Melbourne in my early days, I went to America with Brent Gergich. Who remembers Brent Gergich? Alistair Nicholson. I'm sure you remember Alistair Nicholson. Good Perth boy, Claremont boy. And Mark Bradley, another Perth boy. I think he was East Fremantle, the Sharks. Is that right? Mm-hmm. He played 1 or 2 games for Melbourne, one of my friendship groups early, and we went over. Mark Bradley was living with a family over here that Darren Bennett lived with when he was billeted out with this family when he first came to Melbourne. And so they had this kinship. So Braddles organised us when we were in America to go and visit Darren Bennett in San Diego, and we stayed at his house one night. And he was, a big deal in the NFL at the time. And he took us down to the Chargers. We went through the whole thing. It was amazing. What the NFL had then back in the 90s still is massively better than what we've got now at AFL level. It was phenomenal. Blew our minds. And I remember watching training going, they're not that big. And then they all walked off the ground and it was like, as they all bust with muscles and huge guys. Training facility was amazing. And then we went out that night with him in his big F-250.
F-150.
Yeah, those...
the big pickup trucks.
Big pickup trucks.
Truck.
You lived in America, you know what they're like over there. They love their big cars.
Yeah.
And we pulled up to this Japanese sushi bar restaurant, but it was a nightclub as well. It was phenomenal. And I was not allowed. I was 19 to go out and drink. But because I was with Darren Bennett, the punter for San Diego Chargers, he pulled his F-250 up to the front of this establishment. And the, what do they call him, the bellboy or the guy that parks the cars?
Yeah.
He said, "You can't park your car here." He goes, "I don't give a shit." He threw the keys to him and walked off. And we're just like... And he just caught the keys and he dealt with it. He said, "We don't park cars here." He goes, "I don't care, going in." He went in and parked his car for him, and
well,
it's a big deal. And we got the best table because we had the guy that snapped the ball between his legs to the quarterback with us as well, and he was a stoner.
Was he?
Yeah.
The guy that caught the ball?
Stoner. We went to his house.
He's probably got a lot of pressure.
We went to his house after, and he lived up in the hills of San Diego. Have you been to San Diego?
No.
Phenomenal place. He lived in this $1 million mansion in the hills overlooking the bay.
Imagine that.
Oh, my God.
And all he does is catch the ball and put it down.
No, all he does is put the ball between his leg to the quarterback.
And that's it, like tunnel ball.
Well, then he blocks.
Tunnel ball guy.
But apparently he was the only guy that could flick the
Get
ball between his
stoned and
legs.
still play.
Yeah, be stone hammered and flick the ball so that the laces were always the perfect spot whenever they...
Yeah, I reckon I could perfect that and make a career out of it and get $1 million mansion in San Diego. I missed my calling.
You did.
Damn it.
Do you like marijuana that much? You could do that job.
No.
When will the D's get a proper training facility into the G?
About this.
Gary Hughes asked, and yeah, it's an ongoing thing with Melbourne. It always feels like we're on the precipice of...
Piss off back to Victoria Park, Collingwood.
Yeah, so we can have...
How did that happen?
We were supposed to have that, but we just weren't quick enough. Collingwood got there before us, and we didn't get it. Can I do a shout out to my awesome ex-coach, Neil Danaher, and my ex-captain, David Neitz, and some of my teammates that are in a car that travel around. Or, we do the Danaher Drive every single year. We raise money every year to enter a car. We need to raise $10,000 to enter a car. I think it actually might be more now. Flick up this website for me, Davo, as I talk about it. The big freeze at the G is coming up. We know about that. And fundraising is starting now. So big freeze at Bell's Hotel with Andy and Gazy, Friday, 26th of May. You've got the website there, Dave. I know. All you got to do is, I don't know, how do we do this? Because
Google search it.
Google search this. I think that's the only way to do it. Or maybe we will leave this link or something.
Big freeze with Andy. Yeah, we can put it on the Facebook page.
We'll put it on the Facebook page. Please buy a ticket and come along, guys. I'm going to be playing music with one of the most amazing guitarists you've ever heard in your life. His name's Brett Wood, and he's a guitarist for Pete Murray. Great Australian artist. Wow. He's fantastic. I'll be playing some music with him. Nita will be there with some of my ex-teammates, and we're going to be raising money to enter our car into the Danaher Drive this year. Some amazing stuff happening on this day into the evening. SEN will be there live with, obviously, Andy and Gazy, and we'll be doing some announcements as well. And we may, I'm sure, the big fella, the great man, might make an appearance. So book into this if you want to and come, and I'm sure Nikki Naditza Nolan will be there. She's everywhere. She loves to get involved in these things. So we'll see you there.
I'd love to go, but I'm away.
You're away now. You're away next week. You're in New York, aren't you?
New York City.
New York's still in the playoffs.
No.
They're out.
They're gone. Celtics lost today against Miami too, but we're not talking about that either.
No, I don't think they're a concern. They'll win that.
You had one other photo you wanted to share? Oh, I've got one thing to share too.
Have you?
Yeah,
Good
forgot.
time you brought something to the party.
Gosh, so the postman came yesterday, and
I know where this is going.
This T-shirt that I think you all want to see. And
got it
there's
on.
a story. Robbo! Yeah!
Take your stupid cardigan off and leave that on,
I'm
please.
so comfortable in my cardigan and my slippers.
Stupid cardigan. Look at him.
Look at this, everyone. Robbo!
You've got my top.
Yeah, it's you on my T-shirt. It's you.
That's brilliant. That's amazing.
And, so get this right.
It's quite good.
I don't know.
I like the pink.
Yeah?
I'm going to get one of these.
I don't think so. We've already discussed this.
It's not a good look to me to be walking around with that.
I need to sit like this so everyone can see. Right, the glory days. That's right. You know, you guys, I'm going to do that other version of the shirt too. We all know that.
No, you're not.
The postman, because remember last week when we did the show, I ordered the Robbo shirt and I got it delivered to Russell Robertson. So the postman came and goes, Russell?
To your
to my wife. My wife goes, what? And she goes, Russell Robertson? And my wife goes, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, okay, I'll take
okay. And she was like, oh, do I say he doesn't live here? And he just goes, consider it delivered. And it was almost like maybe he watches the show and goes like, yeah. Well, he was like, I know Russell Robinson is.
He's a big Robbo Live fan.
Yeah. Were you hanging around at Davo's house during lockdown?
Oh, my God. I love it. I'm going to make you wear that for a week. Wear it in New York.
I'll take it to New York with me and I'll take a photo and I'll send you a photo for the show. He's going to have to try and do the show while I'm away too. What do you think? Let him give it a go, I reckon.
Without you, I'm going to have to manage all of this stuff. I've got one more photo. That's hilarious. Well done.
Thanks.
I think a punishment for me if I do anything wrong is I must wear that around for a day. It'd be so weird walking into a cafe with my own T-shirt on.
Hi. Just a coffee for
Robbo.
For me. Robbo. I liked how one of the people said, oh my God, Gavin Wanganeen's highlight package was longer than Robbo's.
That was Nicky, yeah. Well, with
what am I sharing?
It'll be easy. We're on the whiskey this evening in the old...
non-such whiskey.
The non-such whiskey. Where's our next bottle? Non-such. Great Tasmanian sponsors of the show. They've got some really good stuff. Another website you can just find. Non-such is a Tasmanian brand of some really good fortified stuff.
And we got another photo. Is that the photo?
Yeah, please put this up. I'd like to talk about this guy for a second. Who remembers the great man? Give me your name. Of course, you know. We did just before we did the guess the can you remember? What are we going to call that segment? That's another thing. We've got to figure that out.
Guess who?
Guess who? That'll do. Jeez, well done. Thought long and hard about this.
Really hard.
Who's this guy? Come on. This is easy. Shawnee White. That's exactly right. Shaun White. And the only reason I put this up today, guys, because it's a shout out to one of our superstars of the past. This guy, probably a bit, for Melbourne supporters, I feel like everyone loves Shawnee White. But do you remember Shaun White?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The most athletic.
Yeah, great mark.
Some of the stories are, great mark. Running back with the fight of the ball.
Better than you.
He was a good guy. A good guy. Yes, he went too soon, Gary.
Yeah.
One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Always wanted to help out. Was always there for Melbourne. Lived not, I'm going to say perfect life because I didn't know everything about the man, but he didn't drink, didn't smoke, very healthy. Contracted cancer, obviously. Got cancer and passed away way too soon.
Very sad.
38 years ago to the day. Today he made his, I don't know how that works, but because it's not a Saturday or whatever, but he made his debut for the Melbourne Football Club 38 years ago today. So very courageous player and superstar, gone too soon. That's That's been a wonderful show, Dave. What are you doing? You're throwing up all the past players now.
Oh, there we go.
We've got nothing else. I don't think we've got anything else. We said we were going to be quick tonight. It's been about an hour. It's pretty good.
It's really good. We're not going to crap on like last time. We got in trouble for crapping on.
Yeah.
Apparently we crap on.
Your wife told you off for crapping on.
We said you guys crap on too much. Stop crapping on. Actually, I'm going to ask you one question. You said you supported Carlton growing up. That's interesting.
You just wanted to highlight that. It's not a question. It's a statement.
That's correct.
So I barracked for Carlton because my old man barracked for Carlton. And during the war years, my grandfather was here in Melbourne and he was in the Air Force and he was stationed out in Carlton. And I think that's where it all started. He met his wife out there, moved back to Tasmania, and I think he just carried that home with him. So
Very good.
you grow up with it. I know. Terrible to be barracked for Carlton. Is Gary saying it's bad that I barracked for Carlton, or is the show shit?
No, I think he's saying great show, no shit. Like don't crap on, crap on. Like don't no crap.
No crap on. Oh, I love it. Great use of the emojis. Yep. Join in next week. Who have we got next week? Is it? Is
it Fremantle?
Fremantle at the G. Correct. I have to find a Fremantle.
You can have my dad. He's here.
Yeah,
you know my dad. Every time he comes over from Perth and he's a Freo supporter, I go overseas.
Yeah, good on you. Good on you. I would too. Because you're a West Coast, he's Freo. How does that work?
See you later. So yeah, you need a guest for next week. A Freo.
We'll get the Wizard on.
Get the Wizard.
Get the Wizard back.
Get him back.
We had him on, didn't we? Yep, Steve. We'll get the Wiz. No problem. I'll see if we can get him in the room with me because you're not going to be here. You're in New York.
The Wiz.
All right. Thank you for joining us again on Robbo Live. Check us out. Spotify, podcast, Google Podcasts, all of those things. And we're always on Facebook if you need to find us. I'm going to get some past players on too soon. David needs. So I've got to get my old mate in the room drinking a whiskey with me.
That's
and actually, I've got another special guest, an ex-Adelaide player who lives around the corner from me. He cannot wait to come and have a non-such whiskey with us.
There you go.
We'll leave that as a surprise. We will see you. Well, I will see you next week. Davo won't see you on Robbo Live. Yes, Jeff White played for Freo, but he's in Queensland. I can't get him in. I might have to get him on Zoom. See you guys. Go D's as always. Get a win over there against Port Adelaide. You're beauty. Love the T-shirt.
He looks up towards then had a flying shot of the goal. Out of nowhere! It'll be a long way to beat that. Michael Roachy.
It's coming home. It's coming home, Ben. Miller, the curse is finally over. The curse is finally over. Remember, guys, we wrote the rules of the game. We wrote the rules back in, what was it, 150 years ago. We wrote the rules. This win is largely due to the support of you guys. Hey guys, we're back again. Russell Robertson live. Robertson! Out of nowhere! Robertson!